So I was born in Amman, Jordan, and my first encounter with music was when I was 6 years old. I was lucky enough, my mom used to take us to the conservatory concerts all the time to see different musicians and to learn about different instruments. And the first instrument that caught my eye was played by this kid who was on stage, standing up and kind of going like that. And I was telling my mom, I want that, I want to play that instrument. And I didn't know the name of the instrument or anything, it was the violin. So she enrolled me right away, we went, I think a week after to the conservatory and enrolled in lessons. And that's really when, my first love for music started. And I continued lessons, I remember, for almost 2 years on the violin, playing classical music and so on. But you go back home and I see my brother playing the guitar. He was learning at the time and he was listening to rock music and all that. So I became kind of imitating my brother and trying to learn and become interested in what he's doing. So my mom took notice of that and got me my first electric guitar on Christmas. It was under the tree when I was 8 years old, and I couldn't believe it. I was so happy. And my brother started, of course, teaching me the first chords, playing different rock songs, something simple, strumming. And, it was like self-teaching, myself and my brother, learning together. And it was really like an informal approach to playing the guitar in the beginning, And after a few years, I noticed that, I probably need some more guidance in order to, up my technique and become just more proficient on the instrument. So I seeked a teacher at, I remember the place was called Faza for music in Amman, in the capital. And he asked me to play for him, so I take the guitar and I play Master of Puppets, by Metallica. And, I feel very proud of myself and everything. And then he looks at me, he's like, why is your pinky collecting dust? Meaning that, why aren't you using your fourth finger? I came to Canada in 1999 and started finance at Concordia University in Montreal. And it's a 4-year program as an international student. And the whole point was to obviously develop a career in finance and become a financial advisor and so on, which I did. I graduated and I applied for a job. I worked a little bit as a financial advisor in investors group. I did that for over a year. And that was also partly to become a Canadian citizen, because that's something that I was interested in. I wanted to continue my life in Canada. And so I worked, in an office environment, in a corporate environment, 9-to-5 job, It was nice for me, but I think the problem was that I knew what music could offer. I started thinking, now it's good so far, the job is good and everything, but why don't I actually study music, seriously? I've graduated in finance, I have the paper, I've got a job. Time to maybe do something what I always done, like my dream, to follow my dream. How does it feel to follow one's dream? I wanted to experience that. I decided, okay, you know what, I have 6 months before the next audition at Concordia. I will continue with my teacher and I will train to try to enter in this university. And so I did, so I practiced like crazy. I quit my finance job and I took 2 jobs in supermarkets, you know, just to survive. And even in the supermarket sometimes when there's not many people, you know, because I worked a night shift or a graveyard shift they call it, so there's not many people coming in. I would have my violin in the supermarket practicing, you know. Some people come in, they're like, I've never seen this in my life. You know, coming in a supermarket seeing a violinist, how beautiful. You know? So it was inspiring in many ways, taking my violin to the subway and practicing. I was like very open to playing for people, and it was apparent that this can be something that I can pursue for the rest of my life. So I did the audition and I got accepted, and of course I was very happy. And I was at once, you know, it was really me who was shaping the way I want my life to be. While I was in Concordia, the nice thing about Concordia is that I had the chance to do more than just performance. So I did some jazz studies and I did some composition. And my composition teacher was a classical guitarist. He knew I was an electric guitarist and he obviously heard me on the violin in class. And he suggested, why don't you take classical guitar lessons, you know, to kind of enrich, you know, my arsenal of instruments. You know, you have electric guitar, why don't you try classical? So I said, yeah, sure, I could try it, but I'm not sure I can take lessons in school, you know, seriously. So he said, why don't you write to the dean? I asked her, maybe she, you know, you never know. So I remember that week I went to the dean, you know, making sure that it is exactly what I wanted, and I asked her, is it possible to take, you know, classical guitar lessons and violin lessons at the same time in school? She's like, no, we've never done this before. I'm sorry, you know, we can't really do this. I told her, you know, it's something that I am really interested in, and I still don't know how would I develop as a musician, whether classical guitarist or violinist. So if you could, you know, allow this one time to happen, I will assure you that I'll be dedicated in both as much. So somehow I got lucky, and she said, okay, you know what, you enroll, you study with Roddy Elias, was his name, my teacher, 1 hour a week on the classical guitar and 1 hour on the violin. So I did so, and immediately I felt more at home with the guitar. During my training in the orchestra outside of school, our conductor wanted to play the Concerto de Aranjuez following season, and he was asking us, do you know any guitarists that you think are good that can apply? So I told him, Maestro, I am a guitarist. So he looks at me, he's like, you're joking, right? You're a violinist, you're sitting with us playing violin. So I told him, I'm also a guitarist, you know, I would love to try this concerto with you. He's like, you know, he was like laughing at me basically, and telling me in the end, you know what, we are holding auditions in 6 months. Why don't you go train, practice the Aranjuez, come back, play the first movement and the second, plus the cadenza in the second movement, and we'll take it from there. We're gonna have a few participants, and we'll see. So it became also like the violin years, you know, practicing 7-8 hours a day, sometimes at night. The sun would, you know, set, I'm practicing, and then I'm still practicing and the sun's rising again. You know, it's just time passes as I was so immersed in the music and trying to learn the music, and of course taking lessons and seeking teachers to teach me the Concerto de Aranjuez, because of course I've never played it before. It is probably the hardest thing I ever played till today, you know. So I remember I seeked a teacher who was in Vanier College teaching, and he accepted me as a student, and we started working on Aranjuez and so on. So the audition time came, and there were, I remember, five participants, five guitarists applying for the position of soloist. And you know, we all played our part, and in the end the conductor, he came, he's like, congratulations, you are the soloist of this next season's Concerto Rachwitz. So that was for me life-changing in a sense that it was like a stamp for me to continue with classical guitar if I made the choice to do so. I started my McGill years in 2008, and it was a master's program that I was doing with my teacher there, Dr. Gary Antonio, and that is where I started really focusing only on the classical guitar. During my last year in McGill in 2010, I got invited to play a concert in Italy, in Cervo. So there was a guitar festival there, and at the end of every day of the festival there was a concert at night. And I was playing a concert at one of these nights. And there obviously there's teachers who give master classes, so I participated in those. And one of them was my teacher here in University of Toronto, Dr. Jeffrey McFadden, and I liked the way he was teaching me and the way he approached music, and just the way he was speaking, the way he was playing. I wanted to study with Jeff, and I applied. I did an audition, and there was a little interview as well, and I got in, and now I'm in Toronto, living as a musician, traveling thankfully and doing concerts, and completing my doctorate in classical guitar performance, which hopefully will be done by next year. So I'm very happy. So far, it's been the decision of changing to music has been kind of godsend. You know, the courage to do so, and the ability to imagine myself doing so is, I think, what made all this happen. Being a musician in Canada is actually very interesting for me. You know, my experience starting music in Canada and being serious about performing music in Canada. I started, in the streets. You play in the streets, you play in the subways, you play in cafes, you play in weddings, you play in funerals, what have you. And everything. The reaction from the people is always amazing. Most of the time they know what you're doing and they're supporting what you're doing. And that gives you fire to continue, to continue as an artist. I gave some thought to the idea that what if music did not exist, or the absence of music? If we think of music, we can define it in so many ways that even if we are silent at this point, we hear things around us. And I think that was the point of John Cage's 433. So that's very, very interesting for me in how I interpret the silence within my music. So if we think of music that I like, or what everyone would call music, it's like organized sound, organized vibrations, right? These vibrations, when they resonate with us, or when we resonate with those vibrations, a certain emotion is developed. We become that vibration in a way. Because if you think of us, we're made of cells, the atoms, and inside the atoms there are particles. Inside those particles, subparticles, and all that is all vibrating. So if the music vibrates with us, we resonate with it, we get that, we become that music, we become that emotion. If the music is sad and we resonate with it, we become sad. So I think it is the easiest way to access our emotions. for me ultimately is to inspire people, to really inspire people to do what they love. Because I think if everybody does what they really like to do, I don't think we will have many problems in the world. Because why do problems come to begin with? It's because people have problems in themselves. Maybe they're mad at their job, or they're not happy with their partner, or they're not happy with their career. So they have turbulence inside. So turbulence is going to become outside in their life. So if every single person has inner peace, I don't think we'll have any problems in the world. Because it's just not philosophy, it's really physics. If you have inner peace inside you, the reflection of what's inside you is really what you're seeing outside. So this whole journey, actually, when I come to think of it, it started in Jordan, in my home country, and I traveled to Canada to do something and ended up doing something completely different. But in the end, you don't really know what will happen, and it's always that sense. You feel you're conducting your life and you're doing it the way you want, but at the same time there's a sense of the unknown, and that's what keeps it interesting, and that's what keeps you, having faith. Even sometimes when you have doubt in your faith, I think doubt is essential to faith in a way. Because if we feel that we know everything, we become very arrogant and too much, we think ourselves that we know everything, and that's not good really. Having that sense of doubt of what's going to happen or what will happen to me keeps me faithful and keeps me passionate and keeps me driven, and ultimately will bring me better things or things that I want. So in the end, I'm very excited to know what will happen. I take it like in a very brave manner. Whatever happens is always something to learn from and something to develop on, and it is very exciting.